been a little time. I'm really excited to be back. Wanted to catch up on everything that's related to these Blackmagic cameras. You get some new cameras coming out. Just wanted to see how they're going to stack up to this camera, and will this camera hold up for production or for your use. Also want to talk about a few items that I kind of gathered and got together while all this was going on with COVID. Less production, so I wanted to kind of clean house, make sure I got some things ready for our next productions. Want to talk through those as well. So you know what, I'm really excited to talk to you guys, and let's get to it. All right, so first off, these new cameras that are coming out seem really exciting. Everybody's touting the Canon camera to basically be epic, and you know, going back to the 5D Mark II, which I bought, you know, when that came out. It was one of the most exciting kind of cameras that you can afford, that was cinematic and you can have depth of field, and it was really exciting. So, you know, coming back from that and thinking about those days and what it kind of brought to the table really started all this off. So that's really exciting, and I think Canon was at that point where they were, you know, trying some new things, and I think they hit the mark. They kind of didn't keep up with Sony after that, and again, doesn't really matter the type of camera that you use, whatever brand it is. If it's working for you, then you know you should stick with it. If it's, you know, giving you some extras or additional options when you're shooting, then you need to think about what's important to you. So if we talk just generally about sizes when we're talking about 12K, obviously it's an exciting time when a camera, especially Blackmagic, which I love their innovative kind of thought process, they just kind of, you know, rolled out with that and was like, no one expected that. And I think it's a huge deal. So future thinking camera, and I think for the price point, it beats out a lot of cameras. Even the red Komodo, I think, is gonna hurt from this particular announcement. And I know some of the Canon lines are as well, unless you're completely committed to Canon. There are some great cameras out there, like the Z cams coming out, you know, with different cameras and high resolution as well. But again, let's talk about that for a second. With the R5 and all these new cameras, the resolution, you really have to think about, you know, why you're getting that resolution. When I got the Blackmagic 6K, for me, I was thinking to myself, wow, this is going to be really a great camera for VFX. It's really going to be a great camera for me to be able to compose shots and not have to take two cameras, because I'll be able to punch into different sections. Now, 12K, that's a lot of information. I don't think I need that at the moment, nor would I see myself using that in the near future. And also for the price point. For that camera, I can probably get, I don't know, maybe 8 of these Blackmagic cameras. The prices went down, and I'm sure they're gonna have some firmware as well. Now, if you're really excited about the slow motion aspects, again, let me tell you from my experience, you can only use slow motion so much. And if you're really addicted to slow motion, rent a Phantom camera, get really great slow motion. It's not something that you're going to be using all the time. It's great, it's cinematic, it's fun, but it gets boring. You can't really use it all the time. So all those factors come into play. Now the A7S III is going to be coming out. The one exciting thing about it is I love these cameras. I love the form of these cameras. I love what they can do. I think the image is beautiful, but again, restrictive in that 8-bit codec really, you know, limits you to a certain point, especially for higher end production, which, you know, even as a C camera kind of might be limiting depending on the type of lighting that you use. But again, I'm really excited to see what these cameras can do. And just love the fact, just like everyone else, I get excited when new cameras come out and I start second guessing, do I need a new camera? Do I want a new camera? Well, the answer is you probably don't. The truth is you really have to kind of evaluate what you're shooting for. If you're vlogging and most of it is going on YouTube or anything like that, you can get away with 1080. 4K is great to have, but again, puts a lot of, limits on the editing and the time and the type of computer you have. And let's not even get into the fact that if you decide to go with a different camera system, you're looking at everything that comes along with it. And I'm not talking about a cage. I'm talking if you're using new lenses, if it's a completely different format, the type of power that you need, buying new batteries, you know, all the connections, everything that you kind of built up already, you've got to do it again. So it's exciting to have these big resolution images, but it is not going to make you a better filmmaker. It's not going to give you a better image. It might give you a clearer image, might give you some options, which is really nice. But again, I would focus my energy more on things that are going to help you on a day-to-day, you know, whether it's a gimbal or, you know, a tripod or a specific lens that you can carry out through another system. All these things are really great. You know, investing in V-mounts or anything like that, lighting, these things will continue on depending on the body. Again, do not commit too much to a body because it will change, but the things that go on it will stick around for a few years, if not a decade or so, if they're good. So think about that before buying any of that. Now, it's almost coming up to a year of having the 6K. I've had the 4K a little bit longer. This camera blows my mind till today. Hands down, the image is amazing, and that's something you should really, really consider when buying a camera today. Can the image hold up? Does it have decent dynamic range? Is it more than 10-bit? Is it going to give you what you actually need? And these cameras are amazing. And again, it's not just it's right out of the camera and everything looks beautiful. It takes work just like anything else, but you get used to it. I think RAW or B-RAW actually is a really incredible format because it's so lightweight. I mean, you know, I edit in 6K and I really don't have a problem. And the thought that they were talking about editing in 12K, that's huge on a software kind of investment of their company and how they're thinking ahead, which I really love. I wonder if Canon's doing the same thing, if Sony's going to kind of think about that as well, the way they wrap they encode their footage. You know, time will tell, we'll see. But again, right now, I don't see myself switching over to any camera. These cameras' images are phenomenal. This camera hasn't let me down, but I have some news. So the HDMI stopped working. I contacted Blackmagic. They had no problem. I sent it to them within, I would say, door-to-door 10 days. I had my camera back. Everything was good. They didn't charge me for it. It was under warranty. It was great, and everything works again like it should. There are downsides to these cameras. Again, it's the body style of these cameras and how to kind of manage the weight and how to balance these cameras. The one thing that I did do when I was home more and I wasn't shooting productions, I wanted to keep this camera super light, and I found this Powerbase. And it's really, really nice because all it is really, it's a V-mount battery, but it gives you the option to kind of mount it on your camera, which keeps it extremely light, so it solves for that battery issue. Now, is it perfect? No. Does it tell you the amount of battery time it has on there? Yes. Is it 100% accurate? Sometimes, but overall it's been fine. I haven't used it on a full-on production, but you get about 2.5 hours on this battery, maybe a little bit more, which is great. So now I can mount my monitor, I can hook it up here. You've got a whole bunch of extra ports here. You can charge it, you can connect another V-mount situation here. And what's great about this battery, if you don't want to use it this way and you just want to mount it right on the back plate of, let's say, the 6K or the other setup that I have for this 4K, you can just unclip it by doing this, and now the battery comes out. You can charge it with its own adapter, or you can charge this on V-mount chargers as well. Again, you have 4 ports here. You got all these additional ports, which I think are great, and you can use this as a regular V-mount battery. It does have a power indicator here on the battery itself, which I think is important. And again, if you're looking for that kind of light, kind of run and gun situation, this is the way to go. It does have a dummy adapter, hooks up into the battery. I've had no issues with this so far. And if you want to keep your rig a little light and even take the monitor off and go out, take this off, you're going to have it super light. I had the Moza Air 2 for quite a while. And, you know, one of the issues with that crane was, you know, it was super smooth, it was nice, but I always felt like the motors were, you know, not strong enough for this camera, believe it or not. It's such a weird design camera. It's so wide and it's really hard to kind of balance. So I really wanted to say, you know what, I'll give this a shot. I ended up selling my Moza Air 2, and I wanted to see if this crane will do the trick. So again, tried it out. I was getting a little bit of shakiness. People were recommending getting that extra battery, which is $100. So I didn't mind giving that a go. Ordered it. It actually took about 15 days to come from China, and I hooked it up. Now, here's the good and the bad of this particular gimbal. The thing is with this gimbal, it has a ton of power. I have to tell you, these motors are no joke. They're definitely stronger than any gimbal that I've ever used. 100% for sure is great. But one of the things that's kind of strange about it is that I was thinking, you know what, I'm gonna put my whole rig on here. Now, putting your whole camera on there with the battery and your rails and all that stuff, I think it would do really well with like a C300 or C500 or those cameras that are kind of already semi-built and they're very kind of like, they're like a box, right? And there isn't extra little pieces hanging off it. Like with these cameras, we're putting so many accessories on there that there's so much off-balance situations happening. You have to be mindful with that. So I try to put it on there, and while I was doing that, I put the extension arm on here and everything. I had the extra battery. I put on the 6K, and believe it or not, as I was putting it on, this thing was so, as you extend this out, it feels like the touch points become really weak, and I can't really imagine you putting a really, really heavy camera on here and getting away with it. And this thing is kind of a beast. It's heavy, even with a lighter battery. And as I was putting it on, it literally dropped. The whole thing like got off balance and dropped. And it was my fault, you know, but either way, you know, when stuff like this happens, if it happened while I was taking my time doing it, I can't imagine this happening in a production. It dropped, it broke the V-mount plate that I had, and I ended up having to get a new one. It was good because I got to try something new, which I could tell you about, but it broke that, so I was a little bummed and was like, you know what, I'm not going to be able to put a whole kind of setup on here. So now that I have this kind of on the gimbal, I balanced it as much as I could. Again, the first time I did this was kind of hard to do. When I did it with my Sony camera, with the A7 III, it was a piece of cake. Usually I'll have the 60mm on the 4K on here, just because I want that wide angle. I think that looks really nice on a gimbal. But for now, I put on the 50mm, which is really nice, balances well. The one thing, like I said, the motors on here are ridiculously strong. You know, hooking this up on its own, I had it without this additional battery, and I was getting a lot of shaking. Now, I don't know if it's because there's so much unbalancing going on here, even after balancing it, or that it just needs more power. So keep that in mind if you're thinking about buying this Crane 3. I did get the battery again. It came in about 10 to 15 days. And I'll power this on just so you can take a look and see. It's got an app. It's a little limited. It's not as good as the DJI app or the Moza app actually, but I mean, it does what it needs to do. You've got a joystick and everything else that usually comes with gimbals today. Very, very smooth, super quiet, handles the weight, really not a problem. I think the key here is all about the weight, and that's really where it's at. So, you know, if you're looking to, you know, to have stuff on your camera, or you have this camera set up, it's going to be great for that. So I got minimal shaking. I had to do some adjustments in the app from like a medium to like a low, and once I kind of figured that out, there was no more shaking going on in the camera. So it's great. The other downsides I would say about this gimbal is, let's say you have this set up right now. I have a monitor hooked up on here and everything, and that's fine. With other gimbals, you have kind of quite an amount of places to put your hands to pick it up. So initially when you pick it up, just be ready, because there's nowhere really to grab it underneath because there's no arm. So you're picking it up from kind of the handle and automatically kind of dropping and then hoping you get it right. And this thing is heavy. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's a heavy gimbal with this on. Now, with the Sony camera, it was really easy to deal with. With this, I can feel it in my back right now. Now, having it in this mode where I'm kind of underslung mode, it's great, and it really takes the tension off. But I can't see myself doing, you know, this for very long with these. And that goes for a lot of these gimbals and this camera as well, with all the stuff that's on here. That's just the realities of it. But if you're looking for a gimbal and you want that power and you have a bigger camera, then I would say, you know, definitely go with this. I think I can see this working with a unified camera like a Red, and you need that extra weight, having the additional arm and the space in the back, or the C300 or that type of body style, even the FS 7 II, or even the newer Sony camera, I think is going to be great for that. But again, keep in mind that, you know, it has its flaws. You can read a ton of reviews out there about this crane. I think it's really a powerful crane as far as motors. So if you're looking for stability, strong motors, and adding additional weight, I think it can handle a little bit more weight than this, no problem, and kind of do fine. So really happy with this Crane 3 overall, but keep in mind, Blackmagic cameras are just not the easiest ones to balance, and there's always going to be some issues, so you're going to figure out ways to make it work. I had at one point the battery sideways, different things, and making sure I have clearance here. But again, if you're looking to put a full-on Blackmagic with a Vmount battery and all that, maybe some people are doing it. I just don't really see myself using that much weight anyway and picking it up, because this thing's, you know, on its own is so heavy. I don't want to carry that and this. So I think, you know, for this kind of setup, for this camera, I think it's great. If you have smaller body cameras, I think it's going to be wonderful. If you have unified bodies, like I said, any Reds or the C300s, I think they're going to be great for that. I just wouldn't use it on a built-up rig for this Blackmagic, and that's just my opinion. Take it or leave it. I'm just trying to be as honest as possible. So this is the Benro Highhat. It's the 100mm, and why I got it specifically is because I wanted to use it with a heavier rig. Now this isn't super heavy, but it handles it really well. I get these really interesting low shots that I use a lot. It's really easy to pack down. Comes with a bag. It's a simple little tripod, and it's something that I can put on a chair, something I can put on a table, even if we're doing some sort of corporate interviews where we're at a desk. This really comes in handy. Again, you know, I think for the price, it's an amazing little extra to have. And if you're not using a big tripod rig and you need it for a heavy camera, this is great. Now this is just kind of on this basic setup here where it's really lightweight. I mean, we've got a monitor, we've got some file focus here, we've got the map box on here, and it handles that no problem. I'll show you what it looks like with a heavier setup, and now it handles no problem on this big kind of like rig situation. And it's really smooth, balances really well. I don't have to worry about it tipping over. And again, great for low shots, great to use for desk shots. So it's great for using on a table shot, low shots. It's really just takes over the whole fact that I don't have to bring a huge tripod with me, like something like that. If I just want to get some really great B-roll and not have to carry a big rig with me. Again, thinking about kind of a, you know, one-man band, two-man band type situation. It's something I've always wanted to use. I used it once in a production, kind of fell in love with it, and wanted to use something that was inexpensive that I can kind of recommend. What's great is it has, you know, a ton of adjustments. Obviously, like most tripods, you can go super high here. You can extend the legs to balance out, which is really nice. And it's just, you know, overall pretty sturdy for the price. And I'll put the price below as well. It does come with that bag, and then you can get a whole bunch of little accessories on top of it. The one thing to keep in mind, you will be using your own head. It does not come with a head. You can buy a head that fits on this, you know, and it works really nice. I'm using a specific like a half ball head here that I got from Benro as well. It's the 100mm. It's priced right. It's pretty nice, and that pretty much kind of wraps it. I think if it's something that, you know, you would need in a production or want to kind of get away with using, you know, a tripod that feels like heavy duty and can support a rig, and you can get these really kind of nice dynamic shots and not have to bring a huge tripod with you, then I think this is a good option for you. Do your research on it. Again, I love it. I've had it for a while, something I always really wanted to have, and I'm happy I got it. You know, don't rush into market to a pre-order and you know, get things that you may not need. You know, keep that money in your pocket, especially in these times. You know, let other people kind of go through it first, let you know if things are working out or not. Again, I'm very happy with these cameras. I think they tick all the boxes from now into the future as well. Excited to see what Blackmagic is going to be coming up with. I wonder if they're going to have some updates here. But again, the price drop on this, on the 6K, is fantastic, phenomenal. This camera will compete with much higher end cameras image wise. Yes, you will have to deal with things and build things on there, like, you know, having an XLRs on there is not a big deal. Adding a handle on there just to give you more stability. These things are not as expensive and can easily be put together. You know, your monitor, your battery, your V-mount situation. I've talked about this in my previous videos. This camera is a beast, worth every dollar. Even building it up, it still comes in cheaper. So again, thanks for watching, guys, and I will talk to you guys soon. If you have any questions or comments, link them below. Please follow, like, and subscribe, and we will talk to you next time.